Oh, make sure it's public too.
Yes, I did. We are live on Facebook tonight, everybody. We are going to be talking about North Carolina specific census. We're going to talk about voting. We'll probably give you the dates for when you need to go vote. And we might touch on some of the down ballot, or if not tonight, we'll be back next week with more information. But I want to be able to introduce my lovely colleagues. Right next to me on my screen is Mr. Demetrius. He is my lobbyist friend, but I'll let him go in more and talk about that. And then down below, we have Councilwoman Ingram, and she will give you some information about where she's from and what she does. You guys know me. I'm your favorite alderman for the city of New Bern. So Demetrius, tell us where you're from, what you do.
Definitely. So good evening, everybody. My name is Demetrius Deloach, and I am a state government lobbyist. So currently I represent all 550 cities and towns across the state of North Carolina with the North Carolina League of Municipalities as of right now. Basically, lobbying is somebody advocating on your behalf. So in my instance, I represent the cities and towns across the state. So when they have an issue on a state, local, or congressional level, they tell me what the problem is. I go before all 170, state and Senate officials in the state of North Carolina, or I go to DC to tell them, hey, this is a problem, this is how you can fix it. And I walk the legislation from the idea all the way down to the governor's office to get it signed. So basically, I advocate on behalf of the rights and all of the official business of local officials. And yeah, that's what a lobbyist does.
Oh, you make us look good. That's how I feel. You're so informative, and I think that's really important, especially for young elected officials to be able to have that network with you being so close to what you do for us to be able to get some things done. Miss Councilwoman Ingram, tell us about you, please.
Hello, good evening. I'm Councilwoman Shaquilla Ingram, serving in Fayetteville, North Carolina, serving my first term. I was born and raised in Fayetteville, and tonight we're going to be going a little bit in depth of the census and voting in North Carolina.
Awesome. Okay, well, I just did have to shout out and say that Fayetteville is on point only because one of my favorite rappers is from there, and that's J. Cole, and we'll end it at that. And he's registered to vote. All right, so let's talk about the census. A lot of people don't understand about the census and how important it is to, fill it out. I know when I was younger, probably when I first turned 18, and the last time the census came out, which was 10 years ago, I didn't pay attention to it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I just kind of threw it in the trash. Like, what is this? Now that I'm an elected official and I know how important this is, I'm a big advocate for it. And so, tonight we really want to kind of touch on why the census is important and what it does for us. So I'm gonna pass the Zoom mic over to Mr. Demetrius to give us some information, and we'll just kind of have a real conversation about the census.
Definitely. So I'm glad that you said that, you used to toss it. So this week I had a very good conversation with one of my friends down there, and she's from Tampa, Florida. So, she called me and was like, yo, D, let me ask you something. What's really the deal with this census thing? Because I always throw it in the trash. I'm like, bruh, please don't throw it in the trash. She was like, why? And she told me, she's like, I need you to take the educated, lobbyists, put that to the side, talk real to me. So, that's what I want to do tonight. So the census literally, it counts who is within a certain municipality. Why that is important is because, one, that's how they draw congressional districts and other legislative districts based on population. So there's a thing in North Carolina called gerrymandering. And North Carolina is known all across the country for it, and it's not one of those things that you want to be known for. So gerrymandering is basically where you draw districts so that the legislators pick who they represent, whereas the people and the general citizens don't get to pick their legislators. So you'll super compact, Black people, Democrats in one district, but then you'll give Republicans very big, districts so they can have more representation in, whatever body it is that they want to have. So that's why this is important in that aspect, because your population is counted and those districts are going to get drawn very often. And, North Carolina has a history of having gerrymandered districts. We've had Supreme Court cases and all kinds of stuff. And even when I was in DC, the Brookings Institute said, whenever we want to teach about gerrymander, we go straight to North Carolina, which
Oh
is
my goodness.
not
That's
something
terrible.
that you don't want to hear, but that's what it is. Another
So
thing,
for some people, because I'm always going to interject with conversations.
yeah,
With questions. So for people that don't understand gerrymandering, and break it down for them, because it goes down to even how kids are put into the school district.
yeah,
Like
definitely.
it goes, yeah.
So with gerrymandering, think about your representation. We live in a society where we have a representative democracy, and basically we have people that we elect to represent us in whatever body, be that council, as in, your town, city council, and the state senate and the state house, and congressional districts and US Senate, all the way up to president. We are a body of people that elect somebody to advocate on our best interests on our behalf. So that's what that is about. Now with gerrymandering, they can basically just take away all your kind of sort of like your power, if you will. So with the gerrymandering, if they have drawn you out of a district, and let's say you have a town that is this big and this much right here is Democrats and the rest of it is Republican, that means that there is very little influence that you can have in that area because of the way the districts were drawn. And also with that, that creates an atmosphere where certain elected officials have what is called secured positions, because they don't have competitive districts because of the way that it's drawn. So, the North Carolina Free Enterprise Foundation has a very good system where they talk about partisan ratings. Now, certain districts are always going to be Republican because of, their location, or Democrat because of their location. But more than anything, some of those districts are forever going to be that way because of the way it was drawn. So that's what gerrymandering is. It's basically taking away the power from the people and putting it in the hands of elected officials that get to choose however they want to, operate that area, because they have the power to do so.
Right. Okay. Well, that is good information for people to know and understand. And again, that also ties in with the census, because we need to get counted so that we can break up some of those, those blocks of, making a little sprinkle of blue and red, and not just all blue and not just all red. So that's why I wanted to add on to that.
Definitely. And, I think the biggest thing, when I was talking with my friend, the biggest thing that hit her was this idea of money. Money goes where the population is at. And if you're not counted, people aren't going to invest there. And, she was, I got a couple questions that's asking about confidentiality. This is something I learned today. I knew for a fact that they could not share your information. So, they won't ask you your social security number, anything like that. They just want to know how many people are in your house. So when you're doing the census, count yourself. Don't count your pet, but count every single person that is in your house, whether it's your kids, your, mother, or, other individuals that you're rooming with. Count those individuals because they are important and they want to be counted. But I learned today that in statutes, they cannot share your information. And if they do so, it's a violation of your civil rights, which could result in a $250,000 civil lawsuit.
Oh, I
did not know that either.
Because I could come up with $250,000. But I have a question. So, is there a way to stop people from putting too many people on their census? Meaning, like, do they have to have their name? Like, you have to account for everybody. Am I correct? Like, for me, it'd be Olivia Harris. That's my daughter. I just can't add, Jaquita or Susan or Karen on my census because
they don't live
with you. I have to have proof. Right. Okay.
Right. So yeah. So for me, I did mine. Me being here, I live by myself. So I did my own. I did my parents because those two, they still live together. And, of course, our senior citizens, COVID-19 has basically made it so we can't do things the way we usually do it. So meaning that you don't have people that come to your house and knock on your door and just say, hi, I'm with the census, fill this out. We used to have census parties, census gatherings, all kinds of stuff like that. But now, of
Census
course, we can't
parties.
do that. Yeah, literally, like people would get together in the park and have a big gathering and literally just chop it up and just do the census.
Oh wow, that sounds
So
like
yeah,
fun.
and I mean, you'll look at certain cities. Like I want to shout out down there in Little Washington, or I'm sorry, out there in Hertford. They actually bought a kiosk that they put in the town hall, and they allow people to come out there and do the census that way. Now, some people have different tactics of how they want to do it, but there's always an option. You could do it via phone for calling. You could do it via the via website. There's a host of options, and it's very critical that you do it because one, it's free money. The money goes towards your K-12 education, libraries, public safety, things of that caliber, and also that determines how your districts are about to be drawn. And of course, this is an election year, so people are looking at how that census is going to go because this is a critical election year.
Right. It's a big, big, big census year and election year. Yes. That was a good idea. So we got council people in Hartford. That's Quentin. Ain't that Quentin?
Mm-hmm. That is Quentin Jackson. Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, now I love me some Quentin Jackson because he do not play on that council board. He is bold, bolder than me. So I think that's a great idea. I wish I would have thought about that to try and advocate for a kiosk to do it. Maybe in the next, I won't be in New Bern in the next 10 years, but okay. So we are at, you told your friend how important it was. She was asking about, the sensitivity of the information. Where are we at now?
So where we are now is, now that I was able to educate her, and this is one of the most critical elements in the Black community, I educated her. I told her, your job now is to go forth and educate every person that's in your circle, spread the knowledge. Mm-hmm. Because I know for a fact, a lot of people receive those things in the mail, they just trash it because they think it's junk mail or something like that. So now she completed the census for her and her husband. And, mm-hmm. they live in Tampa and Orlando area. So they did it, they shared it to their social media. They got more questions and, they sent the questions to me and then I answered them. But now we have a group of people that are now doing the census. So what that is doing, that's increasing the Black people that are doing the census and the knowledge. Because, like we discussed last time, both my mom and my dad taught me early about doing the census. They set me right there. And of course, back then it was a little bit different, but they set me right there and said, this is why it's important. This is what you do. This is part of your civic duty of being a citizen in this United States. You vote, you do your census, and you pay your taxes. So, that's something that, a lot of times, we as our younger kids now aren't necessarily getting that. So now for us that are educated, it's our civic duty to pass down that knowledge to make sure that we continue on this legacy of us being involved. Because again, my famous saying, and I say it every single day when I walk in the General Assembly, if I'm not at the table, I'm on the menu. I don't like being on the menu.
Right. Do you have anything to add to that part of it, Councilwoman Ingram?
No, Demetrius really hit it nail on. And, I go as an even deeper to say, at a local level, when we're serving our constituents and trying to communicate to our constituents how this could help them, we put into the mindset of better schools, creating jobs, recreation centers, infrastructure, streets, sidewalks, really getting the resources to you, and that helps me better represent you. Now, this won't work. This won't work if we continue to keep a gerrymandered system and keep a generational turnover system as well. And I think somebody mentioned it in our last conversation. You have individuals holding seats for generational turnover, and that in itself can be a hindrance to the progression of that municipality. I think we are we're in a turning point going into this new millennium where we really have to hold down our morals, if you say, and democracy of our people,
Right.
and truly represent the people. And so, and if that means not getting reelected, then so be it. Because when you do certain things against the masses or against the status quo, which is one of my favorite things to do, I love going.
Mine too. Yes. Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah, everybody. And so when you're constantly going against the status quo, you begin to rub people the wrong way. However, we are in a true defining time in our local bodies, our state bodies, county bodies, and our federal bodies, where we have the momentum to get this thing right. We just cannot let up.
Right. That's very true. So how do we engage individuals, especially during COVID, on how serious the census is? I mean, we're doing Zooms, obviously, talking about voter registration. We're going to touch on, the down ballot, because even though it's a presidential election, we still got a lot of seats that we need to flip. So like, how can we engage people? Like, I know I get texts like every day from both parties. Hey, are you registered to vote? Hey, did you do your census? So like, and people just ignore it. So like, how can we hold people accountable? Like, is there a way for you to go onto the website and see that you submitted your census? Like it's already completed?
I don't know. Demetrius?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm a little
Normally, well, you put it like this. I know I did the census just because I got a confirmation number as soon as I submitted it. And, I recall doing it and stuff like that. But I mean, most people know if they did the census or not, because again, it hasn't been open that long. I think it just started April and now it's about to end at the end of the month. So again, just in that period of time, it's very critical that you do so. But again, for me, my biggest thing is I love the fact that so many people have great social media presences. Because again, now that COVID is here, everybody is on their phone, they're on their laptops all the time. I'm loving the fact that everybody's doing an advertisement about it. Our radio stations, I'm hearing more about it up there. And again, if you don't know what you don't know. So again, it's just even better. So guys, this is Stacy Carlos. Hey Stacy.
Hey Stacy.
Guys, so this is Stacy Carlos. Stacy Carlos Esquire is the executive director of the North Carolina Council Coalition. She just got finished testifying in front of Congress. So I am very shocked that she is up here tonight, but Stacy, is so good to see you.
Wow, go ahead, Queen. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we just finished and I was still in the office. So I was like, I can jump on. So I apologize because I don't know what y'all are talking about. I just know it's the census. And if y'all have started already, I apologize for jumping in. So just let me know where I can be.
No.
Jamisha, yield the floor to her. That is her entire forte. Yes, ma'am. Yes. I yield.
I'm gonna pass the mic up. Well, again, I know he introduced you, but tell us a little bit about you, and then let's see. What's a good question? Okay, how did you get started in the field that you're in, and then you can talk about the census.
Sure. So again, I'm Stacy Carlos, Executive Director of NC Counts Coalition. I'm a North Carolina native from Raleigh, born and raised. And our organization serves as a hub for 2020 census outreach. And so we work with everyone, cross-sector collaboration. So government, nonprofit, businesses, pretty much any stakeholder that is interested in achieving a complete and accurate 2020 census count for North Carolina. I've actually been doing census work for a little over 3 years now. Came into the picture, I'm an attorney, so I was practicing law. And was actually looking for a break, but still wanted to do something that would empower my community, as well as allow me to use some of the legal knowledge that I had. And so the census was a really good fit, which is how I came here today. So love my job, love what the census has the potential to do if it works properly for our communities. I always say I'm a self-proclaimed census nerd at this point. So thank you all for uplifting the census. Demetrius, I've been seeing you post about it all week and asking your friends, which is amazing because it's something so simple that I tell people, like, you don't have to be a part of an organization. You don't have to even go out into the field. Just use your network, use your Facebook like Demetrius has been doing all week, and just say, have you participated in the census? What are your questions? What are your concerns?
Right. So we got into why it's important. I know we were talking about how the gerrymander can come in that aspect, and then Demetrius kind of explained what gerrymandering is. What else can we add to that, Demetrius, that she can inform us on? Because I know in North Carolina right now we are only at 60% of the population for North Carolina that filled out the census. We need 100%. And that's lower than what it was this time 10 years ago. We were at 64%. So can we talk more about that?
Yeah. Stacey, go right ahead.
Sure. So outside of actual redistricting, the census actually guides funding as well. So North Carolina, in 2017 actually received about $44 billion a year in census guided funding. And this is for pretty much every federal program that you could probably think of: SNAP, WIC, healthcare. So for hospitals, Medicaid, Medicare, school lunch programs, school breakfast programs, small business loans in rural North Carolina, affordable housing. I mean, literally just about any federal program that you could think of, it probably touches the census, including transportation. So the roads that we drive on day in and day out, and transit services, it all works off of census data, and that's where the funding actually comes from, and it flows into our communities. The other thing is that I think a lot of times it gets lost is the importance of the data to actually inform decision makers so that they could place services and resources in our communities. So, I always say, if you're not counted, technically you're invisible. They can't see you. They don't know you're there, or at least that's what they tell you. And so they can't provide you with the resources that you need in your community. And that could be anything from a school or a park, a library. I know that there was a former Congresswoman, I heard her speak I think maybe a year ago, when she was saying that she actually used census data to advocate for a hospital in Forsyth County. Following the decennial census, she took the data, and that's how she got the funding for it. So I think it's extremely important that we remember this informs decisions, and also with the pandemic, right? So how do you know how many tests you need? Right? Where are people located? Where do we need to make sure we're providing funding for natural disasters? When a hurricane comes in, how much money do they need to allocate to that area to help them with recovery? So it's all around us, and it impacts us every single day.
Okay, so didn't they used to? Why did they shorten the time? Because I know it switched. I feel shaky about that. I feel a little frustrated about that, because now it's putting the pressure on us to, get more of the information and advocate, a lot faster. Do you have any idea why they changed the dates? Was it because of COVID?
So they actually don't have a good reason as to why they changed. You mean the shortened timeline?
Yes.
So if you ask them, they say it's because of statutory deadlines for them to, get the data to the president on time, and then later for redistricting. However, I think it's because they counted who they wanted to count. And this is a way to make sure that people can stay in power for a substantial amount of time if other people are missed. That's all I can say as a 501c3 organization on Go ahead.
I feel you.
She can't say. Can I say what she can't say though? So
yes.
I think. I feel like our Black and Brown communities, and I'm not going to say distracted, because we were handling business in our streets, because our Black men and Black women have been being murdered in daylight. So while we were out handling business, trying to get justice for ourselves, they noticed that we were a little bit distracted and we were not responding to the census. So they said, we got the numbers we need to keep this system how we continuously have it ran. So let's go ahead and shorten this up. So when it's time to redistrict, we still have a gerrymandered districts. We still have people still in that are serving us and doing us no good. So that's what I believe was the catch-all. We were fighting for our lives. And so people got busy, and you see that a lot. I mean, you see it in your boards. You know, people
Right.
so busy fighting each other, and deals are being made behind the scenes while you're fighting each other. So
Now you touched on that one, because I feel like it's going to be a big battle when it comes to these lines, because I know, you know, some people want some people out of their wards because they don't want to deal with them. So yeah, I mean, I feel you, and that's stressful. That's stressful to know that, and the fact that, one, we may not have access to internet. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big part of it too, that we're struggling with that. So yeah, when that happened, when I was like, they shortened the time, I was like, oh, this ain't what it's supposed to be.
Right.
did
We
you
could
all
read
see?
clearly through the BS. Like, it's there. And again, still the fact that in 2020 we're having the conversation of the fact, why does everybody need internet? As a lobbyist, that day we had that discussion in the legislature, and that woman stood up and said, I think kids are spending too much time on laptops anyway. Why do we need internet everywhere? I'm like, people really are voting for people like this. Like, literally, imagine she was 84, but still.
Did you all see?
84.
There's a photo that's going on around, and it came out yesterday, of a woman. This is in Robinson County, North Carolina, sitting outside the library with her child at a pop-up table on the computer because they don't have internet at home, and they won't let the mother and child in the library. Only the senior citizens can go in the library, but they're literally sitting outside, and they said it was reported they have been out there every single day.
I feel like we should, all the money, especially for North Carolina, and this is something that I was advocating on the board. I had a board meeting on Tuesday where, when we found out that Governor Cooper, you know, approved those millions of dollars with COVID funds, you know what I'm saying? And then they got broken down to each county, and the county broke it down to each municipality. I asked 2 months ago, I said, hey, are we going to get together and have a collective idea to talk about this plan on how we should use this money? Because he also provided a list on the link on what these funds could be used for. It was crickets. Then on Tuesday, all of a sudden they pop up, and now all the money's spent. So I'm on here talking about, well, how are we spending the money? Like, yes, every municipality would love to get reimbursed for things that are going on, but when this specific money comes in, I feel like it's our duty to sit down and think, how can we best serve our community directly? We could be getting some U-Haul trucks and decking them out, or putting some hot spots up and going into the rural communities or into these low marginalized communities that don't have internet, and setting up shop. I just don't understand why people aren't progressive, why they don't think outside the box, because it's so important. Just like, when we said about Quentin Jackson, I think it's amazing that they have that kiosk. Why don't we have a kiosk at the mall to say, hey, if you're going to go shopping at the mall, fill out your census? It's so important. It's just, I don't understand why everyone across the board is not advocating for it.
Right. And unfortunately, I wish 1,000 times that, people thought that way a long time ago. Because, and Stacey's, Quentin and Frank, they're out there in Hertford, out there in Pasquotank County. So they set up a kiosk in City Hall, and they give people a free t-shirt every time they come and do the census. And when I say like they get a free t-shirt, I'm like, their lines have been wrapped around the building. So I know for a fact that they're going to have some very good turnout. So shout out to them. And I tagged them in it. I know Quentin's probably out there listening, but I wish 1,000 times people had thought about this, because when the CARES Act money came down, North Carolina, we're like the 11th most populous state in the country. So we got a very good allotment. And of course, me being a lobbyist, we advocated for that money. And of course, there are restrictions on how it can be spent. But I wish a million times that people had those conversations beforehand about how are we going to spend
on here,
it.
he said, hey.
There he is. That's why it comes about with representation. When we get to the conversation about voting, that's why you need somebody at the table, because again, like I've told my colleagues before, it's a difference when you cross the railroad tracks. To them, not having their trash picked up is a problem. But over here, we can't even keep our lights on. Our communities are flooding, our roads, we got potholes up to our kneecaps, some of everything. So that is why, and again, with gerrymandering, when these districts are drawn, your issues are going to continue. It's just up to you who's at the table to advocate for you. And, that starts with voting. You got to be able to vote for somebody that you have faith in and that can relate to you. Because I came from a 2-parent household, yes. Both of my parents were correctional officers. We did not have a 6-figure household. So a person with 6 figures can't advocate on, the issues that I may have experienced or, deal with. So again, it's about having somebody that can hit that personal touch to understand and say, hey, look, I know y'all just got X millions of dollars, but we need to go across these railroad tracks where the need is there.
Yeah.
And I can promise you, the people on the other side of railroad tracks ain't gonna come to you and say, what can we do for you? You got to be at the table already and say, look, here's my drawn out plan. Here's what we need to do. Go make it happen, or we'll vote your tail out of office.
Now, see, because we're having real conversations with real people about voting and census and stuff in the ballot, I feel like that's definitely a touchy subject. I feel like it's a deep subject. And I know when I have these conversations, I sometimes get frustrated. And I know for us, yes, Black and brown individuals, when we come with a problem, we always got to have the solution. And I think that's important. But I don't know. It's so frustrating that it's so hard to get funds or to advocate for certain things in the community, because it's like we have to prove that there is a need, but then when it comes to the other side of the tracks, it's like, okay, well, here, this is what you want to do. Okay, here's the check, or here's the funding. And it's just like, I don't understand like values or, the morals of people to allow this stuff to keep going, to just, they have blinders on that people are suffering. And, that's why the voting is so important. And I think it's important for us to, like Councilwoman Ingram was saying, in regards to these generational turnovers, we really have to, really engage everybody, like old, young, on why it's so important to do these census, why it's so important to vote every election. And I know we talked about it the last time about, especially with Black men, they just feel like their vote doesn't count. And a lot of Black and brown people feel like their votes don't matter, but it does. And it's so hard for that light bulb to go off. I feel like it has to hit home for something, like even with COVID, like, you got to catch COVID for you to know, oh, I really need to wear my mask. I really need to be doing, and it shouldn't be that way. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be where, we end up being gerrymandered and your kid is in a school where, funds aren't getting advocated properly and the school numbers are down and they're suffering. It's like, what more can we do as young people our age to really just, let people know, like, this is so important. It gets emotional sometimes. Like, it's so important. Do we need to be able to get connections with like Puff Daddy and, remember when he was at like Vote or Die? We need to get people, J. Cole out here talking about census or you ain't counted, like something like, how can we really in the next, what is it? How many days? We got a couple of weeks left. Really try and get people to like really know that the census is so important.
Stacey?
That's such a good question. That's something we've been struggling with. And just like you said, like, just like Vote or Die or Rock the Vote and all these other campaigns, like, how do we get the attention of people to let them know that you need to be counted? I unfortunately can't give you the answer for it because we've been struggling with it for a while, other than to start the conversation, especially within the Black community. And when we're talking about voting, let's also talk about census. And let's not wait for the next census 10 years from now to talk about the census. Let's just make it a part of the regular conversation when we're talking about being civically engaged and political power. I do think that, like some of the things that you said it's one of the things I always tell people is they wouldn't put so much time and effort into stopping you from counting if you weren't powerful, just like voting, right? Like if you weren't a threat or a risk, then why would they even bother? So I'm not sure how we make that message resonate. I don't know how we get the trusted messengers within our community to understand that. In my opinion, I don't think that you could talk about voting without census, because census is the core, right? This is where representation comes from. This is where your political power grows from. And if you're not counted, then you're not going to be properly represented. And so I don't know how we make that connection more, other than to start with the advocates like the four of us on this call. From here on out, whenever, this election, next year, and, because North Carolina always has an election, we are consistently, uplifting the message of the census and making sure that people understand how it impacts their lives day in and day out.
And,
go ahead.
I want to add, I just saw Kevin Stallings, who's watching, he put in, it takes trust. And for me, I find it a little bit easier to try and connect to people when I am on their level, and when I continue to have intimate relationships with my constituents. So calling them just to have a conversation with them and somehow trickulating that into the census. And I get it, we're busy people and it takes a lot of time and effort. However, I go back to the 60s. They still had to work. They still had to feed their children. They still had to march. They still had to get beat. They still had to really go through all of that so that we could have our rights that we have today. And not only just have these rights, the rights that are being challenged, that are like, we could blink and they're gone. We could wake up in the morning and they would be gone. Now I know not necessarily they could be, but they could.
Well, you never know.
It's the truth. And I mean, coming from a lobbyist standpoint, it's ridiculous. Like, that's what so many people think. They think the 60s is over and done. The water hoses and, the guard dogs and all of that, that's done. But the fight has gone to another level now. The fight now is literally in your mind. And, I'm glad, Kelvin jumped in. Shout out to you, Nuke. That's my brother. Love him so much. And shout out to all the brothers of Kappa Alpha Psi. But, it's a real thing out here. Like, when you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that means so much. Like, the fight no longer is in the streets. It's literally in the legislature. And where I'm the darkest person in the room half of the time I'm in the legislature. That says something. That's one of the things that kept me in this, is because when I came in 2015 as an intern, I was like, hold up. So they represent me, but they don't look like me. They don't come from where I come from. They don't. I had to have conversations about HBCUs. Black people matter. I got degrees. I'm educated. I know how to spell. I know how to write and read. Like, we need more people at the table. And, I understand that everybody can't be in government, but every single person has power. The day that we, and you know what, I'm gonna go off the script. The day that we as Black people realize the power that we have, it's over and done. Can you imagine? And this is one thing I've been talking about with my HBCU, the Elizabeth City State University. I've talked to Carson and our chancellor all the time. What are we doing to educate this generation for when they step out into the world? Do they know how to do a census? Do they know who their representation is? Do they know how to speak in a public forum about an issue and present it in a status that they can make an impact? and you know, this goes out to every single HBCU in the South, all 107. You know, our parents may not have been able to teach this to us, but the HBCU culture has to be able to cater to that. And, you know, no disrespect to the PWIs, because I know for a fact every Black student needs it, but especially at the HBCU, because you're going to have the culture of creating Black excellence. That starts with also keeping them engaged in a scholarly type of way, but also in your civic duty type of way. Because think about it, when I was at Elizabeth City, when like 800-900 of us walked down to the voting booth by ourselves from campus, you should have seen the way people looked at us. They thought that we were an angry mob. No, we're just educated Black people who have an influence, and we realize now the power that we have. The day that we as an entire body in the South and across this nation realize that, and we start integrating into these offices and becoming in these leadership roles, it's a done deal. And like John, trouble.
So I got 4 things from all the stuff y'all saying. So Miss Stacy, I have had people come to me and say, can I get in trouble for not filling out the census? Can you validate that statement?
So technically, it is against the law to not complete your census. Has it ever been enforced? No. As well as, I don't know that there is a way to actually enforce it because of the level of confidentiality as well as the information that's provided. So, you know, is there a law that says you must fill out the census? Yes. Are you going to get in trouble if you don't do it? Most likely, no, you're not. As well as, you know, I always get a question, you know, someone's living with me who's not supposed to be living with me. If I put them on my census, you know, am I going to get in trouble? No, they're not going to know. The data cannot be used for any other reason. It is protected by federal law. There have actually been more cases in the Supreme Court where the information has been protected than where they actually release it for any other use.
Okay, so the follow-up would be, I wish I thought about this earlier, but you know, basically it's about partnership, public-private partnership. And I feel like with school and with COVID, you can't force anyone to do the census, but I think it would have been a good idea to partner with the schools, like when they were picking up their iPads and stuff, to say, hey, you know, to get your iPad, you need to make sure you're registered to vote, and you need to make sure that you've done your census for your household. Obviously, I know that you can't force that, but I think it's important for the schools because they have a dog in this fight. So why are we not, because I don't hear about it from my older kids, why are we not like holding, you know, conversations or Zoom within school right now, teaching, you know, about what voting is and about the census within, because like we said, it deals with almost everything when it comes to funding. I think that would be, you know, for the next time we have a census, is to maybe be able to partner with these different type of organizations, because, you know, kids are in school 8 hours a day at least, and parents have to go and fill out these packets. So why are we not like, hey, you need to register to vote, whether you vote or not. We want you to vote, but you need to register. You need to do your census. And then the second thing that I wanted to touch on is the census tracts, because during this current administration, they came out with the opportunity zone. And in a lot of municipalities, that opportunity zone was not an opportunity for Black and brown people, but they used Black and brown data, poverty, so that they can, you know, in certain areas, you know, because some of the poverty in certain areas are connected to what we would call the downtown booming district. So an opportunity zone that was picked in our location was, you know, a mixture, but they don't benefit from it. You know what I'm saying? And I think people need to know that's why it's important for the census too, because, you know, you want to be able to get these funds, you want to be able to get these resources. And opportunity zone, if it could have been a benefit for some communities if it was properly done and properly advocated for. Since we're going off script, I just want to throw that bone out there.
Oh, that's absolutely right. I have majority of the opportunity zones in this city, in Fayetteville, North Carolina, touch my district. And majority of them are Black and brown communities. And I find it absolutely astounding that they allow this. I find it absolutely it's hard to really get, when you have your Black and brown communities being starved for a number of years, and then when they get something that is handed to them and say, oh, this is great for you, they'll take it, because at this point they just want better. They don't know what it looks like. They don't necessarily care what it looks like, but because you represent them, or they think you represent them, and you look like them, they think what you're gonna, this opportunity zone, I'm educating you about this opportunity zone. They think, well, I can trust this. I can trust my elected official. They're saying it's good, but then when you're packing your bags a few years later because of an ordinance that says you're not compliant or whatever, or you're being sold out.
I think too, I think the frustration, or maybe, I would say frustration within the Black and brown community is like, you know, you have those instances where you want to say, you know, race, you know, don't pull the race card. And I feel like for us, when we have to advocate so hard, it's like you can get exhausted of like pointing that out. You know, it's like, all right, here's another organization that's going to do something for the Black and brown community, but we're really afraid to be loud and vocal about the needs. And it's tiring to keep going to these, you know, these city councils or these commissioner meetings and say, hey, we need some more funding in this school over here because these numbers are dropping, and we need funded tutors or teachers to get paid more so they can stay after school, or we need childcare because parents aren't making enough to live right now, you know, but they got to stay to work late and do extra hours, but they can't afford childcare. Like, it gets frustrating, and it's like I feel like it's so much harder for us to come above water than it is other people. And then when we express it, it's oh, you're pulling the race card, or it's not about race. Like, how do you deal with that?
To be honest with you, it's always been about race. So it's like you gotta call it what it is. People don't support something because of race. People support something because of race. So you gotta call it how it is. We are fighting a racist system right now, a systematic racist system. If it's not about race, then what was slavery? Like, right. Tell me, like, you know, if anything, this is modernized. If anything, COVID and these racial tensions, and I'm gonna keep saying it magnified what we needed to address. And now that resources have been released, I don't think there's really ever been a time where it's been this many Black and brown elected officials in high places.
You know, we only got 700. Do you know there's only 700 across this country? And really? I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you guys know about the Our Black Party. I am one of the people that initially was a part of this. And it's about the Black agenda. But one of the goals that we have for 2021 or 2022 is that we want to get a 1,000 Black elected officials elected. Because when I found out that we only had 700 people, you're darn right, I'm going to be excited when I see on election day, first African-American on this council, first African-American mayor, because it does matter, especially when we're talking about 700. That's not fair representation. And we have a right to be, we have a right to be upset and frustrated about that, because that's not even how much, 13%, that don't even equal out.
But Jamisha, I got a question now. I got a question, and I might not got the answer, but go ahead. But how many, here's what's gonna really do it. How many of that 700 are really trying to help Black and brown communities? How
many of that 700? I'm gonna head out on that one. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this meeting short.
That's a real thing. Your skin folk is not always your kinfolk. God knows. But that's the thing too. Like as a citizen, you go to enough of these meetings, you know, their true colors are going to show. Listen to what they say. Like, you know, just because you have the same skin tone as me doesn't mean you give a crap about my life or, you know, making sure I come up. So for me, as a lobbyist, I want to get to a position where I could be like my mentors and I'm reaching back, creating opportunities for others. And I'm sharing this knowledge because, again, I get tired of being the only dark person in the room, and 700 in a whole country, that just pissed me off a little bit. So legit, we need more people to run for office. Like there's subject matter expertise in everything. Like even if you're just like a gardener or in landscaping, that means that you know something about business. That means you know about creating opportunities in banking and finance. And more than anything, you know about infrastructure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like we could use you. They have committees for that. Like
Right.
I believe that
Yes,
I'm not gonna
get
say running
appointed.
for offices for everybody, but definitely if you have a matter that you are super like, you know, stoked about and that's just a heartbeat for you, you got the board of education, you got a council board. It's so much that you could do. Do not sit there with that fire in your system. And my biggest thing I'm already telling people, if you didn't vote or do your census, don't call me, ask me no questions and complain after on November because you're gonna piss me off. Like
On
literally.
November 4th.
November 4th, don't complain about a
needs to-
damn thing that's going on
Listen,
because if you didn't do your part, literally, and as Black people, so much of what we need depends on that. I mean, I know there are white people that depend on SNAP benefits and, you know, all this other stuff, but literally all of that is on the ballot. It can be gone like that. Your tax dollars are paying for it. How are you paying taxes and you don't care about where your money is going to? Because I don't want my money to go to an opportunity zone for another country club. I want my money to go so some kids can get to the darn, they can get an education.
Yes.
Like if I'm gonna pay taxes, let it go to something that I can have influence over. Like my little cousins that are still in Conway in Northampton County in the sticks, I want them to have broadband. I don't want them to be like me, having to go to McDonald's to go do the darn homework and having to read out of a book because they don't have internet service. I go home now, I still can't use my phone because I don't have cell phone service. Like there is so much there that we need, and all of that is in our communities. Because again, if it's, you know, I learned this from back when the Justice Center did this study. So much of the land tracts and everything now so much reflect the 1800s of the slave trades and everything, because of the land that they gave us, it was not up to par, and it was just something to say, here you go, you got this. But that is also where your flood zones are, your land is not really worth much, and all of that. So a lot of this is systemic. And again, we need it the most. So if don't nobody else go to the polls, we need to. Because what you gonna do if your SNAP benefits are gone? If they say they're gonna cut by 45% tomorrow, what's gonna happen? You want to get rid of, like, people always talk about, let's legalize marijuana, let's get our Black men out of jail, let's create opportunities. How are you gonna do that if you're not at the table where the decisions are being made? And literally, I'm not even exaggerating, all of that stuff is on the ballot, bruh. Sorry.
So I definitely know we real conversations. So I definitely did want to point out with our Black Party, we don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, what your party is. It's mainly about issues, because you can be a Republican and care about certain issues. You know, I don't, you know, I have Republican friends, Black Republican friends. That does not bother me anymore. I know when I was immature early in the political game, I was like, what? Yeah. But that doesn't bother me anymore, because being red and blue doesn't, you know, make who you are as a person. But, you know, as long as you respect the mission, and that's basically the Black agenda, making sure that we have representation, and making sure we're getting more people elected, I think that's, you know, very important. We do have a question. So I'm not gonna say her name, but we have a question from an individual that said her husband was a felon and he has been out for 10 years and he's changed his life completely and wants to know when he will be able to vote.
He should have got, okay, so if he's in the state of North Carolina, first and foremost, he should have got a letter in the mail. And once I finish talking, I'm gonna go and get my uncle's, and I can read you what it says. But if he has completed his probation, paid all restitutions to the state, and does not owe anything, he had better been registered to vote.
Okay,
So
so I need to get him registered to vote then.
he first had he not be on any type of probation. He could
No, he's
check
not on
it,
anything. No parole, no nothing.
and as pay his restitution to the state.
Mhm.
He had better been he can be registered to vote. And I would just go ahead and check with whatever county system he was in. Make sure you verify, get it in writing, because you know how they do. And at this point, I would early vote if I was him.
Okay, so
Definitely.
where does he go to check to see or to get that documentation? Does he need to call the prison he was in?
I go across, I'm backtracking everybody I done went through. I would call the prison I was in. I would call it all and any probation officers I had ever had over the last 10 years. But start with the last probation officer. Start with the last one. And I would get in touch with the county sheriff. That's who I would contact.
Yeah.
Okay. And that'd be a starting point. Yes, because, and that's another thing, you know, now that we're moving on to voting, is there's a lot of people that are felons that, you know, done their time. They don't have, you know, they've done everything that they did. They paid their restitution to the state. They don't know to vote, and that, you know, that they can register to vote. And that's the thing, is like, they don't want to tell you this information. They don't want to give you the knowledge. So, you know, it is definitely important that we do continue to tell people that they need to vote in North Carolina. What's the very last day that you can register to vote? So you got it? I done set you up, didn't I?
I want to say it's like October 13th or something like that.
I think it might be the 17th.
Sometime like that. But again, all of this is online. If you could look up the menu of a restaurant, you can look up all of this. Just literally Google North Carolina registration or voter dates. Like all of that is there, and it's easy to be found. And again, as Black people, you know, they're not going to give you this info. You have to go and look for it. And, you know, just real quick, Jamisha, some of my friends, CJ Brenson out of the North Carolina Black Alliance, he just shared our video. Edward Jones out of Citizens First. All these are very Black oriented groups that are geared in politics. So yeah, all of them are now tuned in. I made sure to tag them. And Ray Trapp too. He's the government affairs person for A&T, and Carson Rich out of Elizabeth City State. So thank you. October the 9th by 5 o'clock. Of course. October 9th by 5 o'clock p.m. Appreciate that. Is the date for them to it's the last date for them to be able to register.
Where
you know we always got people through. We always got to have somebody by our side that's smart. But again, they're not going to tell you this info. Like, as a felon, they are not going to come to you and say, hey, thanks for doing your time. Do you want to register to vote? No, you got to go demand that. Like, and one more thing, just I want to tell y'all, just this fight is not done. I see legislators every single day fight about this issue. And, you know, I want to go, Jamisha, since we're being real people and I don't have my lobbyist hat on, how dare we as Black people have our real Black caucus members and, you know, those individuals in the legislature fighting for us, and we not even do our part to go cast a vote. We don't got to count jelly beans. We ain't got to get bit by a dog. We ain't got to get water hose. We ain't got to get our ass whooped. How dare we literally not go and cast a vote? Right. It's the simplest thing ever. Like, literally. And if you don't know, ask somebody.
Right. And
that's
again,
why I implore to everybody. Like, all 4,000 friends of mine know I've been doing this since 2011. I'm not going to tell you nothing wrong. And if I don't know, I'm going to go to somebody else. But there are people that study this. Like, literally ask somebody. A closed mouth does not get fed, and a closed mouth does not get educated at all. If you don't know it, ask. You're not going to look stupid. I'd rather for you to look stupid in front of me than not do your civic duty. Right.
Now, you said a mouthful with that. Something popped up in my head that I wanted to say about, so the conversation that's been floating around on Facebook, and then I know, Ms. Ingram, you're gonna tell us about the letter, is like, you know, voting for the lesser of the two evils. And for me, I feel like we would never have to be in that situation if we were consistently engaged in politics, even the basics. we wouldn't be sitting here and saying, hey, you know, this is the lesser of the two evil, if we were actively engaging people and making sure within our party systems we're running decent people with decent policies and decent platforms. I mean, that's my viewpoint. That's how I feel. I feel like we really need to get away from the Crips and the Bloods, and we really need to go ahead and just vote on issues. I feel like there can be some harmony in what we're doing if we were voting on issues like Medicaid, Medicare. Everybody need health insurance. It don't matter you black, white, poor, rich, gay, straight, you know, Democrat, Republican. Everybody need health care. So why would we not want to expand this? You know what I'm saying? You have legalizing marijuana because we're going to get a lot of people out of prison that was locked up because they had a Dutch or a roach in their car. You know what I'm saying? Like, legalizing marijuana will, you know, boost the economy. Like, that's across party lines. Who doesn't want more money? Who doesn't want to be able to use less tax dollars and use more money? Well, it is tax dollars. I'm dumb. But you get what I'm saying. The products, you know what I'm saying? I think it's a benefit to be able to legalize that. Or, you know, for me, you know, forgiving student loans. You know what I'm saying? I figured you was gonna head out.
I'm about to say, y'all, Jamisha, sorry, Stacey's gonna jump off again. She literally was, to everybody that's listening, Stacey Carlos is the executive director of the North Carolina Counts Coalition. She is an awesome, educated Black queen, and literally she is an awesome person to be with. I literally sent her a message and she jumped on, and she testified today in front of Congress, so I can't wait to hear how that went. But she's an awesome individual. Any questions that you have, go to the NC Counts Coalition page. I'm pretty sure they got a lot of people there. They have demographers, they have subject matter experts, whatever that you need, they got there at the North Carolina Counts Coalition. Go to them, they'll get you taken care of as far as the census. And Stacey, really just thank you.
Thank
you so much. You're awesome.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
Yes, ma'am. You too.
Demetrius, someone in the comments, Charles Dudley, he's the vice chair for the Democratic Party here in Craven County. He wants to know what the rest of your shirt says. So can you stand up again for us?
Definitely. So it says, "We are Black History," and shout out to my alma mater, the Elizabeth City State University. And just a shout out to all HBCUs. My HBCU took me from being a first generation college grad to being in the same room with Harvard, Duke, and Carolina graduates. So I love my HBCU. Literally, shout out to Elizabeth City State University and Carson Rich, because I know he's listening, and Chancellor Dixon.
All right. Oh, what you got, a bottle? What you got, a service over there with you, Demetrius? Miss Ingram, do you have that letter?
So no, I don't have the letter. However,
Okay.
I do have the steps for former felons. Okay. So if you are convicted of a felony in North Carolina, you temporarily lose your citizenship rights, including your right to vote.
That's disgusting.
Any prior registration you had before your felony conviction is canceled by the County Board of Elections with no action on your part. Okay. So I am going to, let's see here. Okay, so after completing all the terms of your sentence, including parole, probation, and restitution, you do not have to do anything to have your citizenship rights restored. Those rights are automatically restored via NC General Statute 13-1. Registering to vote again for the first time is all you need to do before voting in the county where you reside after your discharge.
Okay. So he can register the vote. And will they at that time, will he get something back stating that it's a true registration, that it's, you know, a good registration?
That I'm not too sure, but I probably could, because I'm not even gonna front. I have felons in my household who I have to ask these questions for. So I can call the Board of Elections and just do a whole Facebook status talking about the answers that I received. And then it says, if you have completed all parts of your sentence for a felony conviction or have been pardoned, you are eligible to vote in North Carolina. To avoid potential difficulties with registering and voting, you should ask for a certificate of restoration of forfeited rights of citizenship form. From your releasing officer via NC General Statute 13-2. This is not necessary to register or vote, but it may make it easier to encounter for you when you're encountering problems. So that was when I was going back to saying I would backtrack. I would go through all the certain people that I needed to go through, and through one of them, you may get this document, and I will post all of this right now.
Okay. So yeah, definitely. If you do that, because I don't know if we're gonna be back. If you guys want to be back next week, because I know we're gonna do part 1 of the down ballot. So if you're not doing anything next Thursday at 7 o'clock, I would love for you guys to come back and do the second part, and again talk about census and talk about voting. But it would be good if you did reach out. I'm gonna reach out locally to mine to see, and then we could just bring that information back, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are felons that have done their time and don't know that they can vote.
Yeah, and then I am looking that it does say something in here about needing to register 25 days before. I don't know if it's just a felons thing or just a regular citizen thing. And so I will I'll put this in the chat, and then I will ask the necessary questions in my county, and then we can come back together and see what we come up with.
Yeah, and I have a
So
friend that's a
25 days.
councilwoman. Yeah, that's crazy.
It says,
Okay, so
in step 1, it says register to vote. It says former convicted felons must register again to vote in your current county of residence. And then step 2, it says you can register. Hold on one second. If you are able, you can register. You can vote in person at your polling place on election day, or one-stop voting. See below. Okay. You may also vote using an absentee ballot. If you are going to be incarcerated on election day, you can vote by mail or an absentee ballot. To request an absentee ballot, it takes you to those steps. It says you can register and request an absentee ballot at the same time. Be sure that your request is mailed in early enough to receive, complete, and mail your registration in. That's for absentee ballot. If the County Board of Elections determine that you are eligible to vote, they will mail you the registration form. That's the absentee ballot. Again, I'm trying to get, okay. For 17 days, starting third Thursday before each election until Saturday before each election at 1 p.m., voters are allowed to vote by one-stop absentee ballot in person at their county board of elections during regular business hours, usually 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Some counties might offer other one-stop voting sites that allow you to vote at additional locations and times. Check with your local board of elections to one stop. So good news, they can one stop early vote.
Yeah, but you also said if they're in jail, so if they don't have a felon, so that means we need to run up in this prison and make sure everybody registers to vote.
No.
Okay.
So I think there's this funny thing where you can check in and check out or something like that. But what it says is, let me go back and find it.
So while you're doing that, I mean, I've seen it even in Florida, because I was out there for a YO event and I actually got to be in front of the man that was part of advocating for the felons to get their right to vote back. So I'm trying to understand if it was, and I guess I need to read up on it, is it more or less before the certain amount of time that was advocated for, or what the law was? I mean, because why would people want to be out here advocating for felons to be able to vote if after so much time they can get their vote back? So is it to be, if you are a felon, you should still have the right to vote? Is that what people are advocating for?
No, I don't. What I will say, because I know you just mentioned Florida, I don't know what state that was too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know what state that was, but I think when you come out of prison,
Mm-hmm.
and you still owe time, in my perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because you got parole,
Right.
you have restitution. So I think the advocacy part comes back as when they step foot out that door, they should have their voting rights, not they step foot out that door and they still have this to take care of before they can vote.
Okay.
I think that's where the advocacy part comes in. But when it talks about the incarcerated, it reads, if the County Board of Elections determines that you are eligible to vote, they will mail the registration form. This is absentee ballot. They will mail the registration form and absentee ballot to you. You may be asked to send a document showing your name and address. You may request that the ballot be mailed to any address, including the jail where you are incarcerated.
Mm.
The ballot can also be mailed to a friend or relative, and that person can bring the ballot to you. However, only you may vote the ballot. Please follow the instructions of the absentee ballot. For example, the absentee ballot must be witnessed by 2 persons. If not, the ballot cannot be counted.
So when we say witness, does it have to be notarized?
I'm gonna say, it doesn't say notarized, but I personally would think that if they're talking about mailing in a ballot, they're probably gonna say it has to be one of the what do you call them? I don't want to say jailers. I don't think that's the correct term for them.
Correctional
CO. Yeah, CO.
Correctional officers.
Okay.
I would say, one of them. But
well, that's good information to know. I did not know that.
I didn't even know that part.
Look, we learning something today. So
it's amazing how much you learn just by reading. God knows it is. But again, it's like you don't know what you don't know until you need it. So again, to all those people that have situations like this, jump on and literally just look at it. Because I promise you the information is there. And I mean, I can call Nicole Dozier, the councilwoman at Apex that works at, the NC Justice Center, and you can call the State Board of Election, you can call your county board. All this information is there. You just got to go get it, because I promise you, a lot of people don't want you to have the right to vote anyway. So they're not going to come to you and say, here's your voting rights. Or, they're going to do everything they can to deter you. Because again, when Black people realize the power that we have, Democrat or Republican, when you realize the power that you have, that is a threat to the status quo. And the status quo has always been us at the bottom. So when we realize the power that we have and we get in some really good trouble and disrupt the system, we might be able to get some winnings out of it.
Listen, so Calvin Stallman's been going in on here. He said we need to flip the House and the Senate. Yes, sir. And he was like saying that what you were saying, Councilwoman Ingram, that it's after the requirements have been met of the state. And then he said, I thought the General Assembly passed it, so it's 1 witness now. So that's good information to know. And so since we're talking about that, I think it's important for us to kind of slow roll right into an actual ballot. I don't know if because you do have your ballot?
I have my ballot in front of me.
Oh, are you gonna screen share and show us?
Yes, I will screen share my ballot.
Okay, I have it so that you can screen share. Hold on, so the ballot is out already, even though it's
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
because
North Carolina was the first.
Yeah, that's okay. We're a battleground state. We need everybody to vote. Yes, everybody to vote. Everybody to vote. Okay.
All right, y'all. So this is my ballot. Can y'all
Let
see?
me see who you got on your ballot. It's like, oh, look at that ballot. Oh, okay. We
My
need
ballot.
you to circle who you're voting for. It's like,
I can't do that. I would
Yeah.
though if I want elected. But yeah, this is my ballot.
okay, so who's gonna Demetrius, are you gonna talk about some of these seats and what they do?
Yeah, definitely. I could do that. So, of
Okay.
course, we know what the president is, the most powerful position in the world. Your governor in the state of North Carolina, your governor is the person that he is the top of the food chain, if you will, at least according to like power structure. So the governor has the ability to do executive orders, declare a state of emergency. He also has the ability to sign, veto, or just, let a bill become law. Commissioner of Labor, I'm not exactly sure, but of course that's what Sherry Berry was. So I would assume that they do something dealing with, safety and work occupations, things like that.
And
But
think of Demetrius. Also think of the elevators.
yeah, elevator. So Sherry
Oh,
Berry was the elevator queen.
okay, Jessica. Well, I don't care. Jessica, that's who I'm voting for. That is my sister. We got to
Yeah,
vote for her
Jessica
because I
Holmes
want
is
to
a very
see.
good person.
Yeah, she's
So
I would want to know if and when she is elected, would she be like the first African American to be on elevators with the signature? How Sherry Berry's up there?
I'm
more
not
than
sure,
likely,
but I'm
I
gonna tell you
would.
what she said. I'm gonna tell you what she said in the town hall, and I say you
Okay.
yes. I say yes, ma'am. She said y'all gonna see my black face in those elevators.
That sounds just like her. So yeah,
I'm gonna be Snapchatting.
yeah. But honestly, Sherry Berry held that seat for a long, long, long time. Like,
It's our childhood.
yes.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So
like I remember being in like middle and elementary school seeing Sherry Berry. And yeah. So there's that. And we actually, Lieutenant Governor in North Carolina is very unique. So we have a very interesting thing going on right now with the Lieutenant Governor. For the first time ever, we have 2 Black people running for Lieutenant Governor. Yvonne Holly, I love her so much. She's a Delta woman, Howard graduate, and she's also been a legislator for a very long time. She's a very good person. Mark Robinson, he's a Black Republican out of like Guilford County area. Also a good guy. He's been doing a lot of in-person type of forums and everything like that. So the lieutenant governor is basically, if the governor is, unable to perform his duty, that's where the lieutenant governor kicks in. And also in North Carolina, a lot of times the lieutenant governor serves as the president pro tem of the Senate. So you will always see Dan Forrest with the gavel in the Senate. So this is something very critical. And Jamisha, I would actually say, let's see if we can get some of these people to tell us about these positions, because I would like to learn.
Oh yeah. I'll definitely hit up. And so that was another thing too, is I want to stay nonpartisan. But if we have a platform and we're real people with real conversations, you already know if I could circle the ballot, who I'm fitting to circle. But I think that's going to be something good too. I would say definitely closer to election time. I kind of wanted to do like locally for North Carolina, like Craven County, but also locally, not locally, but statewide for North Carolina, to kind of do like how the DNC did, where we give people that are running on, on the ballot, the ability to hop on and, talk about what their position is, and then also, respectfully ask for a vote. So I'm really trying to put that together. I could use a few people to help me if you wanted to. I think it would be really cool to have like our own really dope North Carolina, Democratic candidates that are running. Because that, I'm a Democrat, so that's who I'm advocating for personally.
So, Jamisha, so I would like to add, in the perspective of just trying to pretty much, when it comes down to, really educating people about voting or making it really so they understand it or it relates to them, I've been just really making them understand Council of State.
Mhm.
This first half is pretty much your Council of State, and they help the governor get us through COVID-19. And
Mhm.
so really putting it into perspective, in that perspective, these are the people that were sitting at the table during
Right.
COVID. And these
Right.
are the people that helped Governor Cooper make, come up with these decisions.
Right.
Basically a council of state members. So it's kind of sort of like the cabinet, basically.
Yes.
So all of these positions would be in that, that category right there. And they help
Okay,
make
so
basically informed decisions. So I would say, because I would be interested in doing that too.
okay, so this is just North Carolina, and this has everybody on there. So we have North Carolina Superintendent of Public Instruction. So my man
Right.
ain't running again. Where's what's his name? Mr. Johnson.
Mark Rob,
Isn't he the current? Yeah.
He's currently, yeah, but he's not running for that seat again.
Oh, okay. I wonder what he's doing.
Yeah, so again,
I
it's
don't
very
know.
critical that we go ahead and look at these ballots and like people learn who's who and who does what and what's what. So yeah. And I'll be honest with you.
I'm gonna be 1,000%. I don't even know who Jen is. I got to check up on Jen and see what she's talking about, because Catherine might have to get this vote, depending on what their platform is. And that's another thing that I love about the ballot when it comes to election day for, like presidential elections. You can pick and choose, what party you're gonna vote for. Because I could say, hey, I'm gonna vote for Mark, and then come over here and vote for Jessica. You know what I'm saying? So that is the benefit to me. Obviously, we want to advocate to, down ballot, one specific party. But me personally, I like to really investigate on everybody that's running, and mine might be a little sprinkled. So I have some work myself, and I keep wanting to scroll up the ballot, Councilwoman Ingram, to see the other parts. But I think I really do have a lot in regards to these other little small people on finding out what they do and what their platform is.
Definitely.
I will also add, before you, at any point, when it comes down to voting and early voting starts, and I want to say even now, you can go to the Board of Elections, but I really think it starts when early voting, and maybe even on election day, you can go to the Board of Elections and ask for your sample ballot.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can also go to the State Board of Elections website, like legit. They will pull that up. You can do it yourself. And also, while you're up there, make sure your registration is good. Like, again, I implore you, check your stuff now, because on the day of, nobody's trying to hear, am I good? No, check today. North Carolina State Board of Elections, yes.
That you need to know your precinct.
Right.
Just because you and your neighbor are going to go vote, y'all might not live in the same precinct.
Right. That's true. Right. That is true. They're not
going to tell you that. You got to know it.
Yeah.
So make sure you know your precinct. Make sure you know where you're going to go vote, because depending on who's registered that year and not registered due to all these mass unregistering, they will combine your precinct with another precinct, and it'll be a whole line somewhere else. So make sure you have a voting plan.
Right.
That's
why it's really good to vote early. Like I said, do what I say, not what I do, because I'm Clatchit. Like I said, I'm gonna be in my Sunday's best. May not even be. I might have to go get some Jordans and rock a shirt. Black Lives Matter. I'm going in the building with my COVID gear on November 3rd, and I'm voting. And I'm also taking a mental day on November 4th, so I have enough time to clap back on whatever the issue is going to be. So I implore everybody to take November 4th off, and you might even want to take the 5th off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You might want to take the 5th off. You might need 3 days.
Right. I got me a church hat that I'm gonna dress up real pretty.
Not church hat.
Yes, I'm gonna get me a church hat. Okay. I'm gonna be working polls on election day. Okay, making sure.
What? That's awesome.
Well, I'm not working. Wait. I'm not working polls. I'm not getting paid. But what I do want to do for the constituents in my district, their precincts, for my senior citizens, I do want to make sure they have the PPE they need to feel safe to go vote.
Right. That's a critical generation. And, you know, poll working is something that's very important. And I know as elected officials, you can't, and me as a lobbyist, I'm not sure if I can or if I can't, but I don't want to test those lines.
No, we can't, but they giving out some good money. And with COVID, I could be using some of that money. I'm not going to be sitting up here and lying, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to earn this. It's like $100 or something. Yeah,
every person that's listening, looking to see if you could work a poll, like that's money for you to come in. And plus, you know, if you're younger, you know, and you're not one of these in the vulnerable population, you know, that's a piece of you giving your civic duty. Because, you know, our senior citizens.
We got comments. I guess I'm the only one looking at comments. So Alicia is saying that this is a good website to check out. It's votesaveamerica.com. That is votesaveamerica.com, all one word. And then she said www.ncsbe. Those are good websites in regards to, look at you, go ahead, vote.
Nice.
Save America.com. Let's see what we're talking about here. Oh, okay. Your one-stop shop to get out to. Okay, that's perfect. So this is the website that you know your state early, last vote. Perfect. So register to vote. So this is a good website for anybody that's watching, for you to go ahead and, you know, do what it says. Okay, yeah. Charles Dudley, he said there's paid and volunteer positions available. Charles, I know you watching. We need to get you on the next one so you can come on here and give us some good information. But yeah, so you can get paid or volunteer. So I'm a be a tub. I'm gonna try and get paid and volunteer at the same time.
So I will add that Governor Cooper did just add $100 extra for poll workers. He did allocate, on top of what they were already getting. So I thought that was
a come up right there.
Yeah.
That is a come up.
That's nice. Okay. But look, if you
go back to your ballot.
Go vote.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're retired, you need a couple $100, roll up on them.
My dad used to do it.
Really?
Yeah, legit.
So we are at okay, so we have North Carolina Supreme Court Associate Justice.
I'm sorry.
Is that where we're at or no?
No, I think we ended it here. This bottom.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, so North Carolina Auditor.
Yeah, so that's basically what Beth Wood is right now, and she goes in to make sure, you know, basically what an auditor does. She makes sure that, you know, money isn't being spent recklessly and that all dollars are accounted for, things of that caliber. So, you know, she's the person that looked at DOT to figure out how they were wasting money and, you know, got them on the right track. So basically, she's the person that makes sure the money that's allocated to departments and, you know, these officials is spent in an equitable and, you know, good manner and with good faith. So yeah, no doubt.
Okay, so we have the North Carolina Supreme Court Chief Justice. Currently, we have Sherry Beasley, and we want to keep her in office, you know, just doing a nice plug out there.
Yeah.
Oh, it says, Charles said many older citizens who usually work the polls are backing out during COVID. And that's another thing there too. That's why we got to step up to the plate, because our elders, you know, they are a population that, you know, have a higher percentage of catching COVID. So yeah, we do really need to try and step up. If I can volunteer in any way, I definitely am going to reach out to my local government, not government, but my local county chair, because I do want to help as much as I can. So anybody that's watching, especially in New Bern, Craven County, if you have nothing to do, you know, get with your local party, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Constitution, whatever it is. We need people at the polls to make sure things are being done properly and people are being treated with respect.
Right. And the more people you have there working, the quicker the lines go. So, you know, if we got a shortage on equipment and we got a shortage on people, you think it's bad now, wait till later on.
Yeah.
Jamisha, if I could, I wanna highlight a race that's quite near and dear to my heart, and which is U.S. House of Representatives for District 8. And I'ma just say, Pat Timmons-Goodson has my vote. Okay, that's gonna be my little plug for tonight. Pat Timmons-Goodson has my vote. I spent a great deal of time with her, and I call it me being selfish, because I was like, I needed her to be my mentor, but she truly gets it. She truly gets it, and she knows how to come. And if I can't say, and I hope I'm not reaching, I hope I don't feel like I'm disrespecting anybody, but this is just my perspective. I personally feel like, for me, she's my John Lewis in a sense, where I mean, and I just look up to her in such a major way, and to see her getting ready to make this step and be our next representative, this means a lot to me, and so she definitely, most certainly, has my support, my vote.
So House of Representatives, what do they do? What do they represent?
That's basically your congressman. So they represent you on a scale that's in DC. So whereas the state House of Representatives represents you here in Raleigh, your House congressional people, and you know, that's what they say, U.S. House and not NC House. So U.S. House is your congressman. So I think the person now is Congressman Richard Hudson. He represents you in DC. So in Congress, there are, and I used to know this number by heart, there are 400 and something congressmen. So he's the one that represents that area in DC. So everybody that's in his area, that's who he represents. The congressional districts are much larger. So that we only have 13 Congress people for North Carolina. So that district is huge. And you know, we can get the numbers and stuff later on, but yeah. So he represents you in DC.
And Dimitri, if I can add,
yeah,
if our numbers do what our numbers
135. Calvin is coming through. We need him to jump on.
Right. So if I can add, Demetrius, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and I wish she was still here, if our numbers do what they're supposed to do for North Carolina, we are supposed to gain a new seat, right?
Yes, you are. So out there in Guilford and in Guilford County, that's what happened that's how we gained the congressional seat, because the districts were drawn where we had a new seat now. So if you look at it, you had Guilford County, Guilford and a piece of Winston-Salem were going to be their own district. Guilford County is comprised of Greensboro, aka the largest HBCU in the darn state and the world, and High Point and Forsyth County, Winston-Salem. That was a primarily minority district. So we had the opportunity to put our first, another Black person in Congress. So, that would have been an excellent opportunity. And, right now we have Congressman G.K. Butterfield, who's also a Black male representing us in DC, but we had that opportunity to put another one. So imagine what happens if we do proper counting where everyone is counted. A lot of these districts would shift because the populations are shifting. Like, people are moving. And again, if you're not counted, they're not going to go out and look for you. That's for sure.
Right. No, they're not. Definitely not. So, okay. So now North Carolina Commissioner of Agriculture.
Basically, they look out for all the farmers, honestly. So Steve Troxler is the gentleman that's in charge of that right now. So when the hurricanes hit, he was the one that was testifying before the House legislature to advocate for more resources and funds for farmers when all the hurricanes and everything like that hit. So again, with the representative democracy that we have, these individuals are on the council of state and they advocate for, you know, certain people within this area.
Oh, okay,
And-
hold on. I'm about to. So,
Yeah.
Alicia said a website, www.ballotready.org. She said it's a great refresher and perfect for first-time voters. Simply put in your address and it will bring up all of the candidates and their positions they are running for and what the positions entail. So ballotready.org. Dang, you quick with it, Councilwoman. Oh, look at that here. That is so interesting.
Legit, it's just amazing how much stuff we don't know is out there.
Yes. And it's good that and we're, like you said, digital, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd rather have some digital stuff. I know that they go out and they pass out the papers and stuff like that, but I like digital. I need to know, like, it needs to be a comparison to what do they agree on, what they don't agree on, pros, cons. So let's see what you are doing. Oh, research ballot, right down there in the corner. See if that's what it is. Oh, federal candidates. Okay, President of the United States. Okay, let's see what they post up here.
Okay.
What did
wow.
it say?
Wow, it really says everything.
This is quite
So
interesting.
when you hit someone, let me see. Does it change to what their stuff is? Go to Biden.
You can
Let me
add it
get
to your ballot. So you can make your own ballot.
Oh,
And
wow.
There is, wow.
His experience, Syracuse. Okay.
Wow.
Wow. I'm about to be posting this all over the place. Okay, thank you, Alicia. You is the VIP MVP tonight. Coronavirus.
All right, so
Okay.
look, we here right now.
We about to be pumping out this website, ballotready.org. That is legit. When I get off of this, I'm gonna be sitting doing my little what's it, run DNC. I'm gonna sit in the bathtub and look at all this just because I want to see what everything is talking about. You know how he do. What's it? Who is it? I forgot his name. What's his name? That used to sit in the bathtub and give out his little.
Exactly who you talking to. I just kept talking about. I can't think of it.
Oh my goodness.
This is really neat, though.
I'm a phone a friend. What's the name of the from
It
Run
was
DNC?
Simmons, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, Russell Simmons. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Rev
Yeah,
Run.
Rush.
No, Rev Run.
This is really neat, y'all. This is nice. So then
that's good.
It goes into detail. So this is my representative because I put in a city address. So these would be my representatives at the state. And I'll tell you right now, I'm voting for Kurt. That's my, and let me tell you, the very interesting thing about Kurt and I's relationship, and even going to Margaret Dixon's relationship, when I was in high school, how I got started in politics is I was Margaret's intern when she was running. Margaret had District 19. Kurt every year also served District 2, and now he's in 19, which was Margaret's seat. So now I'm in District 2. But you know, Kurt, he's very, very, very involved with his constituents, and it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter your income level. He's there for you, and he lets it be known. He does not let up.
That's what
That's good. So where go back to the ballot so we can go down to the next one.
Okay, let me go back to my ballot. I think that's it. Okay.
Okay, so we talked about agriculture. Okay, so North Carolina Commissioner of Insurance.
Yeah, so basically that right now is Mike Causey. And Wayne Goodwin, you'll probably remember him from the Democratic Party. He was the Democratic Party chairman for a while. And basically the Commissioner of Insurance.
Okay.
Yeah. So with Causey, he deals with everything that deals with insurance, honestly. So your stuff that deals with retirement, your 401ks, your ROI, stuff like that, that's him. And especially your pensions.
Okay.
So for those that know what that is, that's your man.
That's important. We need somebody good there. So, okay, so we got North Carolina Supreme Court Associate Justice. So what's an associate justice?
Good question. We will learn that one together. But I do know Phil Berger Jr. is the son of current President Pro Tem Phil Berger in the Senate.
Okay, I'm about to look it up.
Yeah. And again, see, a lot of this stuff we may not know, but we can all still learn this together. It's an ever-learning process.
And the thing about it is I ain't no shame in my game because I'm fitting to be right up on here looking it up, just like everybody. We're being real people. You know what I'm saying? We're being real people.
Associate Chief Justice, something like that?
Yes, Associate Chief Justice, Supreme Court.
Yeah. Associate Justice.
Okay, here it is. So about North Carolina Supreme Court Associate Justice Seat 2, that the state Supreme Court is the highest court in the state. Okay, that's all it says.
Scroll back up. I think I saw something before that. When you originally hit the Supreme Court Chief.
Right here?
Yeah, when you hit it, at the top it said something.
The candidate?
I'm still trying to.
That's interesting.
No, I wonder if we can get somebody up here next time that can teach us all of this.
I'm still looking it up.
Yeah, I can make a call. I wonder if Judge Cummings is up right now.
Let me see. North Carolina Supreme Court Justice. What do they do? Okay, so I'm looking it up right here. So they have the same. Okay, so you know how Governor Cooper has his cabinet, and then you have each individual. And then you have the one person that is like, boom. What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like the mayor and councilwoman and council people. So they all have the same respect, but you have one that's a chief justice. So the Supreme Court consists of 6, and then you have one chief justice. The primary function of the Supreme Court obviously is, the law. We know that's the highest law. It doesn't specifically say what the associate justice does, but I do got to shout out my associate Supreme Court Justice, Michael R. Morgan. He sworn me in. I love that man. I love the family. They are the bomb. So yeah, we do need to get someone up here to, specifically break down the difference between Chief Justice and associate justice, because that would be good information. And like I said, we are not too proud to say that we don't know, but at least we're not going to assume. We're going to get the resources.
Exactly.
And that's why we're having these Zooms.
That's right.
Yeah, and I added Judge Laura Cubbage, and she's actually running for a Superior Court judge seat right now as well. So
okay.
Yeah, I added her to say, can you teach us? But she would be a great person to ask.
Okay. So scroll up to the second side of your ballot. And so if you were in person, your ballot would be flipped over, right?
Yep.
So we have more Supreme Court Associate Justice. We have another House Representative. We have North Carolina Court of Appeals. So we have a few judges that are running in that. You have your district office. Your North Carolina District Court Judge. You have, that's not her name. So Board of Education. Yours is nonpartisan. So where you're at, your Board of Education is nonpartisan?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, so basically you can determine how you want your ballots to be done.
Ours is partisan because they had primaries.
Yeah, you can do it however you want to. It just takes a it takes an ask of the state legislature, because that's what I used to cover.
Okay.
You can determine if
Okay.
you want certain seats to be partisan or not, and when you want them to
Okay.
happen.
Okay. Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then we have, so ours in Craven County are, they're partisan because we had primaries. Please let me just put out this, the Board of Education, those seats are so important. You want to make sure that you have people that actually have a dog in the fight, meaning maybe some grandkids or some child, or maybe teachers or someone in their family has a close connection with the school system, because when you're far apart and you're sitting on these boards, you're not going to understand the struggles of every day with the students, with teachers. So, make sure the people that are running for these seats have a platform where if COVID happens, there's going to be internet, there's going to be, all these tools. Because for me, because I'm going off on a tangent, one thing that frustrated me with the COVID situation and the kids being at home is you give them one iPad and you want them to be on Zoom all day. How can they go into their Google Classrooms and all these different screens and still be on Zoom? I feel like you should have a device for Zoom, and you need to go ahead and get a laptop so that they can pull up Google Classroom and do or Canvas now, and do all the work. If you're not going to pass out paper or, have paper type of teaching, because how can you be on Zoom? How can these kids be on Zoom listening to their teachers and not have the information in front of them to be able to understand what the teacher's talking about?
That's right.
I'm gonna go ahead and get off my soapbox. My child is has an IEP. He is autistic and has ADHD. So I am a big advocate. I roll up on the school board and let them know where they're lacking, especially when it comes to Black and brown students in the schools. So I'm not afraid to get out there and talk about education, because I do not play with it, because you know what? It's not free. It's
Right.
not free.
That's
And
right.
again, if you, like, legit, I'm gonna just say it again. If you don't advocate for it, don't expect nobody else to do it for you.
Right. And when you, like you said, when you learn something, can't nobody take that from you. You may
Exactly.
forget it when you get older, but I'm going to learn everything I can, and you can't take that from me. That's one thing you cannot take away from me, is my knowledge, because knowledge is power, period. And that's what I instill in everybody. Like, you need to know. That's why it's so important. Know about these seats, like we're going to do when we get off this Zoom. Know about these platforms, understand the platforms. And if you don't know, you know who you're going to call. You call that candidate, because they damn sure got somebody that's going to pick up the phone and say, oh, because they looking for a vote. Can you tell me what your viewpoints are on this and this? And they're going to run you their resume because they want your vote. So do not be afraid to ask people, what are you going to do to benefit me? How are you going to help me? You have a right to do that, because your vote is like money to me. That's how I feel. You want my vote, you got to tell me what you're going to do to benefit me. Make it worth my while. That's how I feel. But go ahead. We have the soil and water district supervisor. I've never heard of that. I need to look into that one.
Yeah, basically just ensure the quality of soil and water across the state.
Right.
Literally.
That's important.
So
Okay,
of course,
and then
with
we
us
have
being in North
more-
Carolina, that's critical.
Do you know
Yes.
who Natalie Murdoch is? She's a now senator. She's a senator now.
Natalie Murdoch, yeah. So she's very knowledgeable in this.
And she used to, I think she used to be soil and water district supervisor of Durham County. I
She
think.
could be, because I know she did a lot of work on it. She's a senator
Right.
now, but when I first talked with her, she taught me so much stuff that she was doing out in the West about soil and water. So she would be excellent to tell us about all that.
Right.
But of
So
course,
she just had that seat. Well, one of these seats, but now she's a senator.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I think a lot of things too that people get, I think the word I'm looking for is bogged down about, is the fact that look, do you see how many different things you have to remember? That's why it's important for you to print your sample ballot, do your research, because you can bring that ballot, you can bring paperwork in there when you go vote, so you know what you're voting for, and you already ahead of time, but ain't no way you're gonna remember all these names. So if you go and take some time, whether it's over 1 or 2 days, you print out your ballot, or don't even print it out, you know what I'm saying? Because you can't use your phone. If you print out your ballot, or even have it written down on a piece of paper, on what these different seats are and the names, you know what to do when you get in there. So it's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and keep it moving, and you get your I voted sticker.
Right. And again, nothing is better because, of course, I know when I go back, I still go back home and vote. Like, I live here, but I go home and vote because that's why I'm still registered at, because I like to take people with me. But literally, when you pull up and they always are trying to give you like, hey, can I give you a piece of information? The best thing you could ever say is, I already know who, and I know every single person. And legit, that makes a difference here because you're continuing a legacy. We're not voting blind. We're not voting just because your name sounds good. We know you. We went to your website. We saw your platform. We literally know whether or not we want you in the seat.
Right.
And again, if you could look up anything, you could look up somebody's name. I promise you, as soon as you type in one of these names, the first thing that's going to come up is either the news article or their campaign site.
Right. Scroll up for me, Councilwoman. So you guys got your county commissioners running too?
Yes.
And register a deed? Good God, y'all had, every seat but your seat is on the ballot.
Yeah.
Literally.
In your area.
Yeah.
And it says Board of Commissioners, you can, for District 2, you can vote 3. So explain that to me, because I don't, how can you have 3 people in District 2 for commissioners?
So pretty much it's the top voters win.
Okay.
So they have at-large seats and then they have district seats.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That is amazing. Your ballot is a lot, sis.
Yes.
But then that just highlights like why it's so important for everybody to show up. Because think about it. If the top people with the most votes win, yeah.
Yeah.
And think about it. We done seen instances where there's a tie and they literally got to decide it from the flip of a coin who wins the seat. Like, you don't want to be in those positions because that means that it's going to be contested. You know, just to bring a historical context, when Governor Cooper was on the way in and Governor McCrory was on the way out, that took a while because the election was so close that they had to recount every ballot again. Like, you don't want it to be where it's going to be contested.
You know, this election is going to be contested. We probably ain't going to know who the president is until January, because that's how long it's going to take them to count these ballots.
Definitely.
To be honest, you know what I'm saying? So, but at least, you know, on November 3rd, we will get some good predictions. I know we all represent North Carolina. And, you know, again, if you're in the store, if you texting somebody, any conversation, your parents say, hey, did you register? Hey, did you check your ballot? Hey, do you know who's on the ballot? That's how I'm doing. Like, that's how I'm rolling up on you. Like, if you have something to say to me before I give you an answer, hey, are you registered to vote? Hey, do you know who's on your ballot? Do you need me to show you how to do it? Because that's how serious it is. Did you do your census? Like, that's how we got to roll up on people like, yo, I don't got beef, but do you got census? You got your census information? Like, right. That's how, you know, and every time that I'm at my board meeting from today on under new business, hey, don't forget to do your census. Hey, don't forget to register to vote. Hey, do you know who's on your ballot? Hey, you need to find out their platform. That's all, Mayor. And I'm going to just keep doing that because I think it's important for people to know how this matters so much. It matters so much.
And it starts with education. So look, we can start a legacy now. Like, we don't have to be the people that are, you know, the correct word is apathetic. The official word is apathetic, but we don't have to be the people that are disengaged and just going with the flow no more. We can literally determine our destiny.
Absolutely.
That's what excites me.
So go ahead and stop sharing, and we're gonna, you know, wrap it up and just do our last little spiel. I think I did mine. Are you guys thinking about being back here next Thursday, or are we taking a break? What y'all thinking about?
I can't do next
Thursday.
I can do next Friday, but I can't do next Thursday.
Yeah, we might could just take a break, but you know, we can deliberate about it. Most important thing is I'm just glad that we're doing it. And tonight, you know, when I tag when I tag CJ and, you know, Marcus Bass and the Black Alliance and all these other groups, you know, they started to share it to their platform, so it's starting to grow. And you know, who's to say that we can't call Laura Cubbage and say, teach us about judicial system, because I don't know it.
Yeah.
Legislative, I got you. Judicial, not my thing at all.
Yeah.
Something that's going on here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which confuses me. So we have city council, we have county commissioners. Y'all just saw that there are county commissioners that are on this ballot.
Mm-hmm.
City council gets bashed with everything. Yet nobody goes to the county about anything. Yet they are up for re-election this year. They have public health. In my mind, racism is a public health issue. In my mind, well, it's not even in my mind, but COVID is a public health issue. Why has there not been any effort to get county commissioners to the table to talk about what their priorities are?
Because you don't know it. Like, legit, think about it. They see y'all, like, they know you. Like, again, like, Shaquilla, if I'm in your district and I'm your constituent, I'm gonna say, hey, Shaquilla, if you're free, meet me for coffee real quick. Let's talk about something.
Right.
Your county, not all the time gets the decision, but your county has so much discretion in their hands. Like, and, you know, just to break it down even further, this year, when we were dealing with the COVID funds that came down, none of the money went directly to municipalities. It went to the county because they had to do the people that decide how to break it out to the municipalities, and they had the ultimate discretion. So again, you don't know what you don't know, but those COVID funds that came down from the CARES Act and, you know, all these other acts, when it was distributed out and when it came to your area, your county determined how it was. And again, if you go to your city council and you pissed off, they can't help you because it's coming down from another entity. So
ours ended up being 400. Ours was 450,000. Now, you know that's not a lot for New Bern, but okay, it's a lot of people that can be using, because I got it right here. It's, you know, on the thing, it was saying that the funds can be used. Okay, so, you know, local governments are encouraged to prioritize the money locally to help their residents, that's your constituents, that's your citizens, those are your taxpayers, rent, outstanding utility bills. In addition, the funds may be provided for internet access, food distribution, COVID-19 testing and diagnosing, and employment training for healthcare workers.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things that this money can go to, but, you know, here in my city, they want to get reimbursed for some the monies lost from COVID. That's why I told people on my Facebook page, I said, y'all need to holler at y'all mayor and you need to holler at your alderman, because they up here spending or, you know, reimbursing themselves for stuff, and we got people suffering. Like food distributions, there's food deserts. We need, you know, one thing, and I'm gonna let y'all go, is they went out around the different counties in North Carolina, and I guess Governor Cooper asked, where do we need these testings to be? You know, pop-up testings. You know, Craven County don't got near not one where you can do mass testing. You can go to the health department, but it's a drive-through. Now, you know, in marginalized communities, everybody don't got no car. So can I drive my bike? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, who is at the table eating, not thinking about everybody? So now I'm out here trying to advocate to get a drive-through, not a drive-through, but trying to get a COVID testing site in marginalized communities, which I represent, because October is around the corner and they said it's about to be vamped back up. And again, COVID is asymptomatic. And, you know, I'm not going to do all the conspiracy theories or whatever like that. It's real. People are dying. It's real. Whatever you believe in, and people need to have the right for a free test. You know what I'm saying? I had 2 surgeries back to back, and they gave me a COVID test. I got to get one in October. COVID, it's not bad. The pictures, they don't stick it all the way up in your nose. You know, if you do get the throat one, if you ever had strep throat or they have to check for strep throat, man up, woman up, it's not that serious. Go ahead and get your little nose swab. So, you know, it's kind of like during, you know, advocating to go get tested for AIDS or go get tested for STDs. It's not a thing that to be shameful about. And you should, you know, people, I could go on, but the local health department, when I was on the phone with them, they were saying, like, once the test is done, it's hard for them to get in contact with people when they are positive because people don't want to give the information, or they're afraid or ashamed. And then that's where the contact issue is going on, where they don't know who they've been around. I'm like, listen, we really need to be talking about that. Like, it's not shameful. Like, COVID is COVID. It's not like, a bad disease. Well, it is a bad disease, but I'm just saying, like, don't be ashamed. If you got COVID, tell everybody you've been around, try and remember, trace your steps, because it is real. People are dying.
And
all right, I'm done.
And to add to that, Kanisha, we have to, it's a new norm. Getting our mammograms is a new norm when we become a certain age. For men, getting I can't pronounce it, y'all.
Colonoscopy.
Yeah, colonoscopy. Well, prostate check.
Getting your prostate checked
becomes
a normal thing. And what I'm learning is, instead of waiting till we get to that age, let us be proactive, because these generational healthcare disparities, they are real. They are extremely real amongst the Black and brown communities.
Right.
And so when it comes down to COVID and testing, we have to treat it like everything else. Women, I go get my annual not between 3 months, the same time of year. I don't go past a certain date, and I don't go too early or early of the date. If something is just odd, then I'll go. But
how old are you?
Today, I am 29. I am my date.
I want to touch on that, because I think that's so important, because, I think you guys know, but I just turned 35 and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I'm like, I don't have to go get a mammogram till I'm 40 years old. And I say every day, every time I get a chance, I'm vocal. I wear my heart on my sleeve. That's me. I'm an open book. I'm an advocate for this now. I've had a grandmother and family members that have breast cancer, but for me to be 35 years old, I said COVID saved my life, because y'all know I'm in them streets with my community. If I don't got an event coming up, I got a Yup event coming up, I'm in those streets. And COVID allowed me to slow down and take care of myself. And I tell anybody, I don't care what age you are, if you got insurance, even if you don't got insurance, they'll work out a payment plan with you. Go get yourself checked out. Mental health. Go talk to a therapist, because this stuff we're going through is real. And that is why voting is important, because those resources, that representation, all of that matters. Everything we do in our life, everything that affects us, has to do with voting. It does. Jobs, minimum wage, education, and everything. Healthcare. Like this is real. Yeah, healthcare, it's real. So I respect that. And like I said, I'm an advocate. It's so important to make sure you are getting tested. And that's what I'm saying. If you have the ability to get a free COVID test, roll up on them. If you getting it monthly, you know what I'm saying, just roll up on them and get your little nose, nose swab, so just like AIDS, just like STDs, know your status, because you could be walking around asymptomatic, you know what I'm saying, fitting to get in this voter line, but sneeze or cough, and then boom, you infecting people and you didn't even know that you had it. Like, that is so important. Like you said, especially in the Black and brown communities, please get tested.
That's right.
Legit. I went to CVS this weekend, did mine, and honestly, it's not bad at all. They didn't give me the long Q-tip. They gave you like the little short one. They just said stick it up your nose for 10 seconds. Like, really, you can't stick something in your nose for 20 seconds total to see if you good or not. Like, come on, bro. And another thing that we'll touch on later on is accountability. Like, in the Black community, we got to be accountable. And one thing I'm teaching my parents, and I'm passing this down, health is wealth. There's no point in you making money and all your money is going to the pharmaceutical company because you didn't take care of yourself.
That's right now. That's right. Oh, and last but not least, I know how to say his name, Isaiah Daniels. He said, yes, go vote, because we need affordable housing. That is major. We need affordable housing. And that's another story that I can go down on when it comes to, holding our people accountable and things like that. Stop paying, stop being on HUD. If you can, go get you a mortgage. Go check your credit. Don't let these people think that you need to stay in these low income housing. Like, go get educate yourself on financial literacy. Learn how to budget. Get yourself on. It's not easy, but know what sometimes you may think you have bad credit and you don't. You might got a 780. You go get you a mortgage compared to what you're paying in what they consider low income housing. You know what I'm saying? It's always a way to keep us trapped in there. It is. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, that's another story.
It starts with what you know.
We're definitely gonna have to get it today.
Listen, I love these conversations. I love y'all. We are the Census Go Vote team. Again, we will see you. We won't see you next week. We'll see you the following week because we're going to keep getting in your face on your timeline every way that we can to tell you to vote. Make sure we're going to drop them links that this beautiful young lady told us about. And again, check your ballot. Know who's voting. Know who's, running
On the ballot.
and on the ballot and know their platform and make sure you register. And like I said before, get your mama, your daddy, your baby mama, your mistress, your side chick, everybody. Get everybody to be on the census and get everybody to register to vote. That's why I say everybody, because tonight is Jamisha. Everybody needs to vote.
Legit. And honest and truly, if y'all can roll to the club together, I swear to God, y'all can roll to the polls together. And if you can stand in line all night for Jordans, I swear to God, you can stand in line for an hour to vote. Yeah. And legit, if you can stand in the damn poll for Black Friday, you can stand in line for 30 minutes to cast a vote to determine how your future gonna go. But you know what?
As a matter of fact, I challenge y'all to set up a tent and camp out to get ready to vote the next morning. I would love for you all to do that.
Yeah, we need snacks. Who's on snack duty at the polls? That's what we need. We need to be thinking about food, because if we stand in line for an hour and a half, and God bless those mighty souls that do that. I know sometimes in Georgia and them South states, boy, they be having them out to like 12 o'clock. But pack a lunch if you got to. Pack dinner, because it's real.
Right.
Because
Take
this election, yes, if it rains, you better get you an umbrella, because they are going to everything possible to deter you from not voting, and your vote matters. I don't care who told you. Your vote does not matter. It does, because it deals with everything in your life. If you don't vote, like my man D said, don't come to me on the 4th asking me not. There's nothing, because I'm gonna tell you, catch me at the next election when you actually vote.
Exactly. Endure it. That's the best I can tell you, homeboy.
All right, now. I love y'all. Until we see you again. Peace out.
Right.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Go ahead and check your voter registration status. Now.
Yes.
State Board of Elections.
Links are in the Facebook messages, comments.
Definitely. All right, y'all take care, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.